I've done a whole university series and not once did I think to put on my university jumper, like brain cells. So I'm going to be wearing this for the rest of the video until I take it off because I'm really, really hot. Whew. Hello to everyone and anyone watching this video. My name is Taja, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is the last installment of my mini university series that I've done this month, and today I'm going to be giving you guys some university advice. As you probably know from the fact that I mention it every 2 seconds, I am a graduate, so I feel like I have the knowledge to spread to the world about university, how to do it right, because I've had a lot of practice doing it wrong. There's loads of things I wish I knew and I wish I was told when I was at university. So hopefully this video will help you guys watching this if you want some advice. If you don't, watch anyway because I really need the watch time. Let's get started with the video. Most of my advice and my experiences are going to be based on University of Leeds because that's where I went, but obviously I'll try to make it as broad as possible. Also, I'm going to be talking about things that may not be as relevant, for example nightlife, obviously because of the pandemic, so a lot of changes are going to be taking place this year, but I want this video to be helpful for not only now but also in future years, hopefully. So I'm going to not be focusing too much on like pandemic style university, but just general average university life. But I will try and give like advice or alternatives if you are starting this year or are going to university this year during these unprecedented times. I hate that phrase. So I'm basically going to be sectioning this video according to different sections or like categories of university life that I want to talk about. So the first category is accommodation, housing, that whole jazz. You probably sorted this out if you're moving in already or if you're about to start uni this year, but just in case you're not, most students will move into halls in their first year, which is basically like just accommodation for first years, and just normally like a block of flats or like something. Just in case you're wondering, if you're going to Leeds, I was in James Bailey, super fun, but also really far from me. Well, not that far, like there was more further ones away from campus, but for me it was a bit too far for me, especially when you're lazy and don't like going to lectures. So that's one piece of advice I would give you when you're looking for accommodation for halls. You want to think about things like distance. If you know you're not gonna be that motivated to go to lectures, then you want to pick somewhere more closer to campus. Other things you want to think about are budget, if it has an ensuite or not, if you're comfortable with sharing a shared bathroom or would rather have your own bathroom space, and also how social it is. Some university accommodations are less social than others. The only advice I'd give in terms of moving in is to pack light. You're gonna need a lot less stuff than you think you do, mainly because you can buy most of the things you need once you're there. I had to pack light because I didn't have a car and I was moving using the coach. I feel like I'm glad I did this because it meant that I didn't bring things I didn't need, and anything I did need like stationery and stuff, then I could just buy when I was there. Obviously things like, you know, duvet, like some like cooking stuff, obviously clothes and stuff like that. So one thing you do want to pack is a door stopper. This is a great way to make yourself seem open to your new flatmates. If you keep your door open, then they're more likely to be like, hey, there's my flatmate, let me go talk to them. It's just a good way to be social, and in general you want to make an effort with your flatmates. This will be probably the first time you're living with random strangers, and these people are probably going to be from all over the UK, if not the world, so they're probably going to be like very different to people you're used to from your hometowns or places you were brought up in. And it may seem like, oh, these are my people, but try and make an effort, try and give everyone a chance, but at the same time don't have an expectation that these people are going to be your dream house and your dream housemates, because 9 times out of 10 that's not gonna happen. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm just being honest. If that does happen to you and you all get on perfectly with every single person in your house, that's amazing, but don't have the expectation that every single person is gonna be the best buddies, and don't leave anyone out. Like my flatmates did to me. Just be nice to everyone unless they're like, you know, a dick. If you aren't getting on with your house as much as you would like, then try socializing with other people in your block and in your accommodation. Normally there are like Facebook group chats. I was in quite a few, so join some and see if, you know, people want to socialize in your accommodation, but just make sure you're in a group of 6, no more than 6 please, because, you know, social distancing. So once you get to 2nd and 3rd year, accommodation will no longer be in halls. You have to go and get your own private accommodation that you have to rent. The main focus when you're thinking of your 2nd and 3rd year housing is to focus on who you're living with rather than where you're living. Housing agents will really want to like pressure you into like getting somewhere because they're going to say everything's going to run out and stuff, but that's not the case. There's like so many housing options and so many houses for you to pick, so don't worry about houses running out. You will find somewhere, but it's more important to find who you're living with. If you ask people too late, then you know people are already gonna have places sorted and like groups sorted with their friends and stuff, so make sure like from like October, November, you want to think about, you know, friends you've made, and if you see yourself living with them, you want to think about things like budget. So if you have a similar budget of like rent. Another thing is cleanliness. If you're like super neat and stuff, you don't want to be living with people who are like really messy, so ask people that you want to live with, how clean are you, you know, do you clean regularly, are you not that fast? And depending on what you're like as well, you can decide if you wouldn't mind living with them. Another thing you want to think about with people you want to live with in your second and third year is your interests. So for example, if you go out a lot, you don't want to be living with people who don't go out a lot, just so you can do things together in the house. On the flip side, obviously, if you aren't someone that goes out a lot and you have flatmates that do, then they could be quite noisy, and that might not be very nice for you, and it might make you feel left out as well. So that's something to think about. Also, when you are house hunting, I'm gonna be completely honest, student houses are shit, so don't expect like a palace unless you're paying like loads on rent. If you want like a nice average sized rent, then don't expect a nice place, but then at the same time don't accept complete shit. Browse around and stuff and see what's good for you. You want to think about location and also size of the rooms. Ideally you want to get a house with similar sized rooms, otherwise you can get an issue where one room is a really tiny box room, and then you might have an argument with your future flatmates about who's going to have the smaller room, and that's not ideal. So if you can get equal sized rooms, that would be great. And also try and avoid basement rooms as well, because those will also be up for debate on who gets that. But the next section is academics. I did psychology at university. For the University of Leeds, I found the course okay. I feel like it's a bit too sciencey for me. I focused on more like sciencey aspects of psychology, like biological psychology, which wasn't my favorite, so that's something to think about. Obviously, I'm guessing you've already picked your course if you're starting, so you know it's kind of too late if you aren't happy with your course. But if you're going to university next year, make sure you check the subjects and the modules that you're going to be taking for the course that you want to do, because universities will have a slightly different way of teaching it and stuff. When it comes to lectures, I mean, go to them. Obviously right now you probably can't go to them because they're probably all online, but when lectures become a thing again, go to them if you can. If not, most universities, as far as I know, they offer like recorded lectures, so they'll record the lecture during the lectures and you can watch it back. It's just better when you go to them, but at the same time, don't beat yourself up if you don't go to them, because they'll record them or they'll have the like slides online, but you haven't really got an excuse now because they're all online. So I mean, just like watch them, I guess. Go to your Zoom lessons, I don't know. When it comes to coursework, I would say start it as early as possible, which is something I don't think I've ever done, like ever. But you know, do as I say, not what I do. It makes it so much easier because you can do it little bits at a time rather than doing it all like in a space of a week and rushing it. And also, if you finish it early, you can go back later and check it over and read it with a fresh pair of eyes to see if it's okay. So yeah, if you can start your coursework earlier, do that, but I know you probably won't because I don't think anyone does that, to be fair. And again, same with revision when it comes to exams and stuff. Make sure you're just working consistently throughout the year. You'll get to revision time and you'll be reading the lectures and stuff, and you'll realize you're learning it for the first time and not actually revising it. So make sure you're actually like learning the content while it's actually like the learning bit of uni, so that when it comes to revision it's so much easier because you're aware of the knowledge already and just like reminding yourself about it and putting it in your memory. Sometimes it can feel like you don't really have time to work, but I promise you do. You just have to make time for it. One of my lecturers said that we should think of our degree as a 9 to 5, so we should be working from 9 to 5. That would, I guess, it would include like lectures, seminars, and then the study periods, which you can do if you're motivated enough. I know I wasn't, but I mean, if you have like a kind of a mindset of like having certain times of the day or certain days of the week where you're like focusing on studying and stuff, then that's really good, because you don't want to be like cramming 2 days before your exam. So that's not fun. So the next section we're talking about is socialising. Even though you can't really socialise that much because, you know, pandemic, social distancing, I want to make it relevant to people now and also in the future, so I'm gonna try and be like as broad as I can. Pools is a great place to find people to be friends with, so whether that's your flatmates, your neighbors, people in your block and your accommodation. If you are having flat parties, which you shouldn't really be doing because, you know, rule of 6, but you know, in the future when that's allowed again, flat parties are a great way to meet people from your accommodation. If there are uni group chats for your accommodation, then join them and see if you can make friends from people in your accommodation through the internet. Another place to make friends is obviously your course. I didn't really do this that much until my 3rd year, and that was only because I joined the psychology committee, and that's how I met friends from my course. If it's a big course, then you want to get in there quickly if you do want to make course friends, because like it's quite hard to make friends when it's a big like cohort, because there was like 200 people in my course. Again, you can obviously during lectures and seminars, if you're struggling to meet people in real life, then try talking to people with the group chats and see who you click with, and then plan to meet up with people for your lectures. In Freshers Week, again, I'm not sure how this is working because obviously the pandemic and stuff, they may be doing online stuff, but normally there are like course events, especially during Freshers Week, so it'll be a good way to make friends as well. I guess now they'll be doing Zoom events, I don't know, but go to them if you can. I didn't go to any of my introduction stuff, apart from one actually. I went to one introduction thing in my Freshers Week, but I really regret not doing that because I could have made more friends for my course if I did that. So yeah. The third way you can make friends is through societies. 2 main types of societies are going to be course related societies, so your course will most likely have a society, so join it, you may as well. The other type of society is hobbies and interests. So if you have a skill or interest in something, if you are a dancer, or if you like baking, or if you like Harry Potter. Do you like Harry Potter though? With JK Rowling being transphobic? I don't know. Check your university society options. Leeds has like loads. My favourite ones from Leeds were, apart from Psychology Society obviously, I really liked Black Feminist Society, which is basically where black women and non-binary people went, and it was really uplifting, like, and really nice, especially because I feel like uni is very like white space, so if you are black and if you're a female or non-binary, please go to that one. It's amazing, it's so good. I tried to do street dance in my 1st year, but I realized with the dance ones that most of the time people who are going are like proper dancers, and they say that oh it's for everyone, but then like you go and like literally everyone like is like a proper like professional dancer, and you'll just say like, oh, with my 2 left feet, like can't dance. First and last time I went for me because I couldn't dance as well as they could, but still go, of course. Again, because of the pandemic, I'm not sure how societies are going to work, if they're going to do online events or like what's going to happen, but I mean still join them. Like you can like join the email list or whatever, so you can get updates on events that they may have, whether it is social distance or not, although it should be until social distancing isn't a thing anymore. Some other bonus ways of making friends are nights out. Try and make friends when you're in the club. If you go to student nights, it's most likely that you're going to meet other students because it's a student night, and who knows what may happen. You know, I feel like it's so easy to make friends when you're like drunk so you know, go for it. And the last way of making friends is kind of a stupid one, but it's literally the only way I happen to make friends, and that's through finding housemates. I didn't really have a good first semester of my 1st year, and I had to find a new housemate because I didn't really make any friends to live with for 2nd year. And even though I didn't end up living with the people I met looking for housemates in 2nd year, they became my friends, and then I ended up living with them like in my later years because we were friends. So I mean that's really niche, but I mean, you know, if people are looking for housing, you can meet people through that. When I was editing my first video for the series, I noticed I didn't talk about my like dating and boys and all that like stuff, and I think it's because I didn't really have that much experience. I mean, you know, I had my moments, had my little scandalous moments, but they were very few and far in between. So unfortunately, I'm not the best person when it comes to like romantic or sexual or whatever thing, but based on my knowledge, my general knowledge, you know, when it comes to like, you know, hooking up and stuff like that, most people you're going to be in that situation with are probably going to be when you're drunk. Just make sure you are consenting and they consent and everyone's consenting. Make sure you're safe, wear protection. You don't want to get pregnant in the middle of your time at university. You don't want to be getting an STI or an STD because that's probably going to be annoying. Don't be like a bad person and like take advantage of people. Of course, have fun, because that's what uni's all about. You know, go be horny and ravenous and do all that stuff. But just be safe, be sensible, and have fun. Me as well. No parents, bring back who you want. Just do it, be safe, and just I don't know what to say. So the next topic is nightlife. I think this is probably the only category in this video where like it's not really going to be relevant to anyone starting university, because obviously nightlife isn't a thing anymore thanks to Miss Rona. But I thought I might add it anyway, obviously like I said in the beginning, for future years or in the future when things go back to normal, you can come back to this video if you want advice on nightlife at university. For a lot of people starting university is going to be the first time clubbing. Yeah, it can be a really fun time. Just a couple of tips to make your experience easier. First is to have pre-drinks or prees or whatever you call it. There's different names for it, but basically it's where you, before you go to the club, you just gather a few people and you just get a few drinks down here. This is a really great way to get to know people if you're like first starting university and you don't really have like a solid amount of friends yet. It's a great way to just like get to know people. You can play drinking games and just chat and then get drunk together, and yeah, it's a nice little bonding experience before you go into the club. It's also a really good way to save money, because when you get to the club, drinks are most likely going to be quite expensive because they have no respect for the fact that we're students and we are all broke. So yeah, to save you having to spend all your student finance on drinks in the club, have free drinks beforehand. The second tip I would say would be to use Uber when you're traveling to and from the club. Ubers are probably the easiest way and the cheapest ways. I mean, if your area of university doesn't have Uber, then I'd probably say any cab service would do, but I think Uber's probably the best one. There's also other alternatives. I think there's one called Bolt or Yolt, or I don't know. And also when you are taking an Uber to the club, make sure you go in with a group of people, and that way you can split the fare, and it'll be so much less expensive if you do that, rather than just getting one to yourself, which will still be cheap, but if you split it between a bunch of you, then it's like nothing basically to get to the club. So I used Uber all the time when I was clubbing in Leeds. It's really cheap in Leeds. Obviously it will depend where you live how expensive it is, but altogether I'd say that cabs and Ubers are quite cheap. Obviously make sure the people you're going with, make sure you feel somewhat safe with them, especially if it's your first time clubbing. You don't want to be in the middle of a club with all these drunk people around you and you're like, oh my god, I feel really uncomfortable, but my friends, I don't know. Clubbing is super fun. I really miss it, and when clubs open up, then I hope you enjoy that clubbing experience, because it's such an iconic part of university. I feel like so many iconic moments happen on the dance floor of the clubs, so yeah, enjoy them. If you are going to Leeds and you want to know what are the best club nights, in my opinion, honestly it's hard to say, because one really good thing about Leeds is that their nightlife is absolutely amazing, and they honestly have something for everyone. Some of my favourite nights were Good Life at Beaverworks, or any Beaverworks night to be honest, but Good Life was just amazing. You have to be fucked for it, and they have like the kind of kind of music, which at first, when I first started uni, that wasn't really my thing, but then I found ways to enjoy it, let's just say. If you want more like charts music or like cheesy music, then you want to go to Fruity Fridays, which is the union night on Fridays. So much fun, just a fun time. Hi-Fi is a really good club as well. They have so many different events. I don't know if they do it anymore. In my beginning uni days, there was an event called Applebum, which is basically like hip-hop R&B, which is my shit. And then Hi-Fi also does a night called the Mixtape Project, which is so annoying. I really wanted to go. I think they do like 70s and 80s music. I'm not 100% sure because I never got to go, because I was finally gonna go and the week I was meant to go was the week that everything shut down, which is really annoying. But yeah, I think I've heard really good things about that night as well. And then there's also Bloopies, which I went to once, which was really good. Mission is a good night on Thursdays. I think there's an indie/rock night somewhere, I don't know where, but I think it's on Thursdays. There's literally a night for everyone in Leeds, so yeah, have a look around what nights are where and what days and stuff, and yeah, you'll find something that you'll enjoy. The second type of nightlife is parties, house parties. I love house parties. I think I love house parties more than clubbing, just because they're like so much more chill. Like they're easier to get to, like because obviously they're gonna be like in student housing areas, so most of the time you can like walk, or you don't have to go all the way to town to go to them. They're normally like in your neighborhood. It's cheaper, as obviously they're free unless you go to one where you have to pay, but I've never gone to a house party where you have to pay for them. I've literally made the best memories at house parties, and they're also a great way to meet friends as well. House parties are something that are more popular in like second and third year, just because obviously in first years you're in halls, so you're only really gonna have block parties, which I guess counts as a house party, but for proper like house parties in houses, like student houses, that's more a second and third year kind of thing that you do. But yeah, love parties so much. The other thing I quickly wanted to talk about in regards to nightlife is alcohol and am I allowed to talk about this? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should, especially like in Leeds, like the alcohol and the scene is very, very big. All I want to say is just be careful. Obviously alcohol is legal, but you still should be careful with, you know, what you're drinking and how much. Obviously you want to have a good time, don't go crazy, like don't end up in hospital like I did. Make sure as well that you look after your drinks when you're at the club so you don't get spiked, because there are some psychos out there. Make sure whatever you're doing it around people that you trust. Don't like get drunk on your own and like end up in dangerous situations. Basically just be careful, because obviously when you're under the influence you're more vulnerable. In terms of drugs, I feel like I really shouldn't talk about this. I don't know. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you don't do drugs, like don't do it, it's not safe. Based on my experience of being in a university where the drug scene is really big, as well as my knowledge of drugs and addiction and stuff that I've learned from my degree, telling people not to do drugs or whatever is not the answer, because that doesn't work. Like if you look at countries like, for example, Amsterdam, you'll notice that their drug use is very, very low, like the actual locals, because they legalized a lot of stuff. And then, you know, there's loads of like European cities and countries where their alcohol age limit is really low, and so they have more like control, I guess, and more like normalized experience with drugs and alcohol. And I think that's an approach that, you know, everyone should take when it comes to drugs. Instead of making everything, you know, completely illegal, there should be more education on drugs and alcohol. And also, what's the word? There's a word for it when it's like controlled. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that, oh yeah, don't do drugs, well, don't drink that much alcohol, because, you know, like if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. If you do decide you want to do that, then I would say just be really, really careful. Make sure you research the heck out of whatever you want to take. Talk to Frank is a really good website that tells you exactly the details are of the drug you want to take. They tell you like the class of the drug, like in terms of like legality, is that the word? Legality? It is now. The legality of the drug, like what happens if you're caught with it, or if you're caught consuming it or have consumed it. It tells you the effects, both the good effects and the bad effects, and it can tell you the after effects when you're coming down and all that kind of stuff. It tells you what it looks like, how to take it, all that stuff. Make sure you are taking it with people you absolutely 100% trust. Well, obviously, like if you're like new in a new place, obviously at university, you're not gonna trust them like with your life or whatever, but like just do it with the people you feel comfortable with. Make sure you know where you're getting it from, like make sure it's a safe source, or as safe as it can be. Obviously, like you can't test it unless you have like a drug test kit at home, but make sure you somewhat feel safe about where it's coming from. Don't like do like heroin or like crystal meth or anything, like, but you know, if you're gonna do one of the less like crazy ones, just be careful. Don't take it regularly. That's how addiction happens, when you take drugs regularly. Yeah, just be safe and be careful. And most importantly, don't ever feel pressure to do anything, drugs or alcohol, anything. If you feel like you don't want to do it and your whole friendship group is doing it, then don't do it. And if they're making you feel bad for not, then they're not good friends. I probably should have said that first, but yeah, don't ever do anything just because your friend's doing it, or don't ever do it because you're feeling pressured to do it. So yeah. Okay, so next is finances. Most, if not all, people normally use student finance, unless you're like really rich and your parents can pay for your tuition. Most people just use student finance to pay for the 9,250 right now, I think, which is ridiculous for people starting university this year, when literally all your classes are online. They should like be slashed, but whatever, the government is shit. And you can also apply for maintenance loans using student finance, which basically is money that you can live off. The amount of maintenance loans you will get depends on your family income. So obviously if you have a high income family, then you get the lowest amount, and if you have a low income family, you get the highest amount. If you've been given a low amount, it means that your parents can help you out, even if it's like paying for your rent, or like, you know, giving you a certain amount every week on top of what you're getting. You know, when it comes down to it, your parents can help you, whether, you know, it's not that nice for them, whatever, they have the funds to. I know that in certain situations, if I couldn't pay my rent or I couldn't pay for whatever, I couldn't just go to my mum or whatever and say, hey, can I have this money, because we couldn't afford it. So yeah, just keep that in mind if you don't get a lot of money. If you don't have as much money as you would like, there are options. You could apply for bursaries. My university luckily had a bursary that it automatically gave to people with low income backgrounds, so yeah, I got extra money on top of my student finance as well, and that's something I didn't have to pay back. I don't know what bursaries my university offers apart from that one, but look around, they probably have quite a few. And obviously, depending on your university, look around and see what they offer. Other options are a job. This obviously depends on what your course is and if you want to and how much time you have. Like, if you're like a medical student, probably you may not have as much time, but if you want to earn some extra money on the side, then get a part-time job as well. I know lots of people who do, and it's like a good way to earn money on the side. The other thing I would recommend in terms of finances is to budget. I might make a video in the future about budgeting, because I feel like my budgeting like method was like, when I stuck to it, like, if you learn how to budget and make a set kind of like amount to spend every month, then you shouldn't go over the amount. I know lots of people get overwhelmed because just having their student finance money is the first time they've had so much money in their bank account, and people want to go crazy and spend it all at once on stupid shit. But you don't need to do that. Just have a budget, be sensible, and it will last throughout the whole semester. So the last topic I want to talk about is adulting. It's obviously the first time you are independent of your parents and you don't have anyone else looking after you, so that can be very daunting for some people. There's a lot of things that you need to take into account when it comes to, you know, being a sensible adult. One of the most important things is rent and bills. Make sure you have enough money to pay for your bills and your rent and stuff, because you don't want to be homeless, do you? No. I think most of the time they are like direct debits, so you don't really have to think about it that much. But obviously if it's not and it's something you have to manually do, then make sure you're on top of it. The other thing is obviously grocery shopping. That's again something you should budget for. Make sure you have enough, because you don't want to go hungry throughout the week. That's not fun. I've definitely been in that stage where I've not had any money to buy food and it's not been very good. Your best friend will be Aldi. Aldi is the best. If there's no Aldi where your uni is, I know Lidl is also an equivalently cheap shop. When I wanted to do a big shop, I would do online shopping in Asda, which isn't as cheap as Aldi and Lidl, but it's still kind of cheap enough. Don't go to Sainsbury's regularly, don't go to Tesco regularly, don't go to Waitrose regularly unless you're like a Tory. And the other thing is laundry, especially if you are in halls. Normally there's like a laundry room thing where you go in and like put your laundry in and you have to pay to use it, which is honestly the biggest scam of uni. To this day I won't understand why we're paying £9,250 and then we're also paying for laundry. I don't understand that. Most places, as far as I know, they use coins, so to make sure you have change whenever you're gonna go wash your clothes. And then the other thing is just cleaning, like especially if you're sharing your house, which you most likely will be doing. Don't be that dick that doesn't clean the house or leaves the house messy. Just make sure you clean up after yourself, make sure you do your washing up. I mean, you don't have to be perfectly like tidy, you know, whatever, but you know, don't be like really disgustingly messy. You know, help to tidy up when you, especially when you made it like a big mess. Don't be the dick that doesn't empty the bin. If you're living with a housemate that isn't very clean, then have a word with them, because I mean obviously you want to be chill and stuff. You don't want to be like an annoying Nancy and be like, hey, like, clean the house when you leave like one crumb. You don't like that person. You don't want to be that person, but at the same time, like, we don't want to be taking the piss or have someone taking the piss. So yeah, if you are living with someone that's like not helping out, then say, like, you live there, you shouldn't have to live with extreme mess. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope it was helpful. I feel like it's probably topics I didn't cover. I tried to think of everything. I did a lot of research before making this video on different things to talk about, so I really hope I covered as much stuff as possible, but there's most likely things I probably didn't mention enough. If that's the case and you're still having a few like questions or concerns or anything, comment down below any question and I will 100% answer it, especially if it's to do with Leeds, whether it's about the university or the city or anything. If you have any questions about, you know, starting uni during the pandemic and all that stuff, I will try and give alternatives or give any pointers or advice in terms of the pandemic if you need it. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy university if you are about to start it or you have already started it. Have the best time ever. I know it's really shit time to start university, but just try and make the most of it, and hopefully these tips will have made your experience easier and more enjoyable. And that's all I've got to say. Have a wonderful day and I will see you in my next video. Bye. If you are about to move in, or even if you've like just moved in, what I'm saying, oh yeah, I forgot to say that Oh yeah, also I forgot to say as well that so accommodation. Yeah, when you like start. What am I saying? I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, no, let's just scratch that. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay. If you aren't getting on with your house as much as you like, there's also people from other. What? There was an event called Apple Bomb, which is like, oh my god, this is fly, my go away. Fuck off. I honestly think I've made so many iconic oh my god, this fly is literally pissing me off. Go fuck away. And also, fuck off. Really fuck off. Da, 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 da.